Good morning, good morning. Welcome back to the Latinaly podcast. If my audio from last week sounded absolutely ass, it's because it was. I finally found my mic. I have to buy another one because this one has been through the ringer. But anyway, that's besides the point. That's why my audio in my trailer sounds crazy. I'm really hoping that this week is a little bit better. Certain things are getting upgrades, evolving, like my little cards, because I printed them out and so they have this insane glare to them. You know what? Don't even. We are evolving as we go, and it's totally fine. New background today if you're watching the video. New background. This is my bookcase. And honestly, anything that you ever wanted to know about me is probably on this bookcase. So, pretty revealing, but it's okay. We have all of my fantasy books. We have some self help. We have some self help. It's so funny. I joke with my boss all the time because the last time we were in the office, he was like, "I'm gonna go to lunch and go to the bookstore." I was like, "Well, I'm coming because what a lunch break." So I totally just invited myself to on his lunch break, and he went to this incredibly bougie bookstore where I picked up a book that normally was like $10, and of course in Manhattan that shit was like 25. But I did buy it. I did buy it for just for the experience of going to the bookstore next to Bryant Park and living my best city life, because being from the city, I don't get many of those nostalgic moments to just go back and do the things that I know I would have done had I lived in the city. Do you understand what I'm saying? It was for a younger part of me that I did that. That I spent $25 on a book that was normally like 10. But that's besides the point. I was making fun of him. I wasn't making fun of him. I joke with him because he loves a good self-help. Oh my God, does he love a good self-help book? And I am more of the murder mystery, smutty romance, romanticy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Actually, I'm reading Caraval right now, and I'm not gonna lie, don't come for me. It's taking a little bit. It's taking a little bit to get into it, but that's okay because Spark of the Everflame also took me a little bit to get into it, and then I devoured it. Book after book was just inhale, devoured. I will say Spark of the Everflames burn. That is a new definition. That gives new meaning to slow burn. Because holy moly, did that book take it took 3 books for me to see a peen. So, I mean, my girl was naked all 3 books and not one thing happened. It's fine. I love a slow burn. I love the anticipation. I think her writing style gave, you know what? That's I'm derailing. I'm derailing here. My boss loves a good self-help book. And from my bookcase, as you can see, there are only a few. But we do love it. Actually, I am reading a self-help book right now. It's The Artist's Way. And if Dochi recommended it, we're gonna get into it. So that's the self-help book that I'm working on right now. Do we want book recs? Do we want that added in here? I definitely think we're gonna add that in here. Okay. 100%. I love a good certain self help book, all about mindsets, changing habits, behaviors, all that jazz. You know what? I really do have to say that the pages on Instagram, like the spiritual awakening, those really eat. I really do have to say, with their little memes and their little one offs, because they really do deliver. And I remember reading one of them that was just about staying silent and really picking and choosing when to speak on something. And I felt it in my bone marrow because when you are someone like me, I I used to be someone that, hold on, not used to, because we haven't gotten rid of my old self completely. I love a good fight. I really do. And I used to love it more back then. Funny enough, though, I hate confrontation. I Let me hold on. Let me reorganize my thought because I do not like confrontation. If, for example, I'll just give you an example. If you do something that hurts me, I will confront you. Duh. If you're doing something in which I have to enter the gray area of my irritation and confront you about it, don't love that. Don't love that because I don't have a gray area. I'm very black and white. It's either we are going to like sweep it under the rug, let it roll off our back type of deal, or I'm just going to black on you, black or white. Okay. If you don't know what blacking on someone means, because that could be a New York term, I'm not sure, it means to lose your motherfucking mind. Okay. Just wanted to make sure that we knew that. To the point, like losing your shit to the point where all you see is black. That's what that means. Just in case. Just in case we didn't know that. So one situation, knocking on knocking on my neighbor's door. No. No. Mm-mm. Confrontation I don't like. I get a total anxiety attack. Don't love it. I had my neighbor across the street who kept using my driveway to rearrange the cars in their driveway. Now here's the thing. I understand, like, it's a very minor issue to get upset about. And a normal human being could just knock on the door and say, "Hey, how are you? I'm your new neighbor. Listen, I noticed that you use my driveway a lot. And, I just wanted to ask that you no longer do that, please, because I need it to be open. Like, I have 2 kids. I need to be able to get up and go and not worry about if anyone's blocking my driveway." Boom. You see how easy it was for me to do that, right? To knock on someone's door and do that? No. No. When we lived in our apartment that I absolutely despised and would send me into orbit because of the noise that they were making. And I don't just mean the pitter patter of like little baby feet. I have babies, so like I get that. It was the moving boxes and rearranging furniture at 3 a.m. And it's funny because I called the front desk and I was like, "Hey, can we talk to them?" And she was like, "Have you knocked on their door?" I was like, "No, that's not gonna be me. That's your job. You charge $3,000 for a 2-bedroom apartment. You gonna knock on the door. You gonna tell them. I'm not gonna tell them. That's your job. That's your job. You nickel and dime everybody. Do your job. Like if I didn't get all these amenities that you're nickel and diming me for, cool. I'll send my husband. I'm not knocking on that motherfucking door. You don't know why? Some people, like if someone knocked on my door, I'm like, "Who the fuck are you? Can I help you?" Right? Immediately with fire. Immediately. So that kind of conversation, no, don't love it. Don't love it. Won't do it. Won't do it if I have a choice not to do it. If I have to, absolutely. If there's no choice and I just have to do it, that's it. It's all me. I gotta fight this fight solo. Boom. Cool. I will do it. But I have a husband that will do it for me. So he did with my neighbor parking in my driveway. And the thing is, if you don't own a home, no, because even if you have an apartment and you have like if you have designated parking spots and you find someone in your parking spot, right? Yeah, that kind of, it's like I want to crash out, but this isn't really something to crash out about. We're going to pick and choose. So, right? Them parking in my driveway Very small. And my driveway isn't one where, like, if you're in my driveway, you're in my house. I have a 5,000 square foot driveway, and like I'm very far from the road. So, them parking in my driveway, you're nowhere near my house. But unless you pay my taxes and my 6.25% interest rate, get off my property. That's how I feel about it. Call me a little crazy. I'll accept it. I'll accept it. And that's a battle that I chose, but I wrote a letter because my husband knocked on the door and they didn't answer. So I wrote a letter because they probably don't want people knocking on their door either. Again, we're from New York. Honestly, New York isn't even that bad. I think in Arizona, like if someone comes onto your property, you could just shoot them. So I think it's either Arizona or Texas. Could be both. I'm not sure. If you're from Arizona or if you are from Arizona or Texas, please let me know in the comments. What's the deal? What's the vibe? Because I heard an Uber driver got shot in like Minnesota. He was an Uber driver just doing a U-turn in someone's property. So I don't really think I'm crashing out that bad. I'm not going to shoot anybody. Okay. So my husband went to go knock on the door. They didn't answer. Period. That's your house. You don't have to answer. Especially my husband doesn't look like a very welcoming person. So to have this big man knock on your door, get it. And he looks a little mean, I probably wouldn't answer the door either. So I wrote a letter. And I think it worked. So win. And I didn't have to talk to anybody, which I think is layered with something else there of me not having to talk to someone. Yeah. So in those instances, I will pick and choose my battles. I don't like confrontation in that way. And I definitely feel I sometimes like a fight. It really just depends on what it is because as a Sag, I fight your fire with even more fire. And I'm the kind of person that if it's going to escalate to that level of confrontation because you're coming in very hot, right? Because like I fight your fire. I didn't have any fire. I fight your fire with my fire. So much so that I will purposely make sure that you leave with more than just burn marks so that you never try it again. Right? And I definitely, in certain instances, I feel like reacting like that is okay if the situation calls for it, if it's escalated to something that's really serious, that really cannot be negotiated to anything less, where a conversation can be had. Like, I'm talking about situations in which everything, everything is hot. Everyone is agitated, irritated, and it's just friction. And so the goal for me is to end it. So when I say I'm going to fight your fire with fire and leave you with more than just burn marks, that's because I want it to end. And if you are someone in which your fire is really never snuffed out, and then you meet someone like me, no. Because what we're not going to do is continue to think that that's okay to do with me. If you want to go out there and do that with other people, fine. Do not do it with me because I am not the one, right? And I have gotten into understanding or realizing about myself that that's how I used to react to everything. I used to react to everything like that. And although in certain instances, I feel like it's really beneficial for my peace to do that, sometimes you need to act the crazy. Sometimes you need to, I'm sorry, but sometimes you need to do that for people to get the point of saying, oh shit, she's really not the one. She's not the one to play with. So sometimes that's okay, but using that form or that method of dealing with people in conflict causes a pattern of behavior, or it was causing one for me that was really actually weighing on me and giving me the worst anxiety I've ever had in my life. Because when you continue to behave in that pattern of fire with fire, constant friction, like I'm ready for a fight, period, boom. The problem is that even though this is done with people that probably deserved it, no one's denying that. The issue becomes because you're doing it so often, because it's becoming now a behavior, now turned into a habit, it's then going to spill onto other people and other relationships that do not deserve it at all. So I've decided, or I've really tried to find a balance, and I've been practicing more often, especially since I had kids, to sit with a stillness to think about my next move. That's the thing. I never thought about it. I just reacted. It was always knee jerk. It was always an instant reaction to something. And now I'm 30. We cannot do that anymore. We cannot, we can't do that shit anymore. This is grown shit, right? Like early 20s, cool. I'm going to act immature. I'm going to act a damn fool. Mid to late 20s, early 30s, we need to start doing something a little different. Sitting in my stillness is one of them. When you are still and when you can quiet the noise, or even in your stillness, you can sit with your anger and not react on it, and you can really feel it. Whether that means, like, what the fuck does that mean? Whether that means journaling about it, sitting in your bedroom, on your bed, thinking about it, and really dissecting that anger, the root of that anger, the igniter of that anger. Who did it? The root of the anger. Why are you angry? What is causing this crazy reaction of anger? And when you understand the root of it, what is causing this anger, now we're going to dive into, why is it making me angry? Why is this particular thing, why is this particular root making me so angry? Why is it triggering me into this anger in which I want to set the world ablaze? After we understand what we're feeling, then we get a clearer sense of, how do I want to fix this issue? How do I want to go about it so that I'm not going through this anymore? And so in our stillness, we get clarity. And when we get clarity, we understand how to navigate situations that protect our peace. And that's big for me, because not everything is going to deserve your anger. Like I said, certain situations, certain people, certain triggers 100% act out. Act out. Do it. Not everything has to be met with that level of a reaction. And it's really a matter of saying, like, I know it's so cliche, but picking and choosing your battles, when you reclaim that power after being through some shit, that also means understanding when to use it. Because after we go through these really, really life-changing moments, because it's often in the darkness, it's often in those really crappy times of our lives, and where we're like, yo, we're in the mud. It is not good. Things are not good. We're low, we're depressed, super anxious. In those moments in which we are dealing with the low lows, you begin to really understand and identify what begins to drain you. And when you learn, or when you can pinpoint what is draining you, what is triggering you, who is draining you, who is triggering you, you become very intentional about what relationships and what situations you are going to pour your energy into. Because I feel like myself, I have an allotted amount of energy to give. And the majority of it, I want it to be positive. The majority of the energy that I have to pour into situations, I really want it to be for positive things and amazing things. My children, my work, my husband, my show, like these are things, or like good relationships, friendships, relationships with family members that, sometimes maybe you don't really talk to very often, but you want to keep that line of communication open, pouring your energy into those things. And also, too, if there is a conflict, saying, okay, me pouring my energy into this and finding a solution, or me pouring my energy into this and saying, is this something worth acting on my anger for? Those are the questions that we begin to ask ourselves, because oftentimes women like myself, you start to go through seasons of lows after you have completely depleted yourself in giving too much that you don't have. And it's almost like you give, you give, you give, you give. And in those seasons of lows, you find that there are things that you need to take. There are things that you do need to be given in order for you to heal and to blossom and to grow. And after going through those things, it's really, really important to look back on certain situations in which, let's say, you did react in a way where you're like, damn, was it worth it? Did I need to do that? Because it is really important to look on past behaviors. Listen, I'm all for reinvention. I'm all for being anew. I'm all for starting new habits and behaviors. But how can we continue that momentum of change and evolution without recognizing the mistakes that we've made in the past and fixing those? Because I'm someone that would react to everything. Everything, every little jab, every little passive comment. I'm not going to tell you that I'm not like that anymore, because things do get under my skin very quickly. And I would always get teased about that. I grew up with boys. I didn't grow up with any women. That were my age, that were my friends or cousins. Like I maybe grew up with one or like a couple in my childhood. But when it got to the point where relationships started to really matter and set a foundation in who I am, they were all guys. And I would always get made fun of because they would purposely piss me off in the tiniest way because they knew it was going to get under my skin. You know how boys are. Stupid. And like these, and the thing is, like, there are little comments and passive aggressive things that are said. And I feel like as women, we really pick up on those things. I feel like there are politics with having relationships with women because women pick up on everything. I certainly do. I pick up on the slightest tonal change, the slightest, physical movement. I pick up on the slightest like facial expression. I pick up on passive aggressiveness. I pick up on narcissistic tendencies and comments, and I pick up on energy. And so that's why it's very easy for people to piss me off, because I am very observant. Unfortunately, I have learned that some people are just that way. Do you know what a difficult pill it is to swallow, to have someone in your life that is just an asshole, that just comes out and says things and doesn't think? And they do it with no maliciousness, no ill will, no bad intention. But every time they open their mouth, you're just like, I wish you would have closed it. I wish you would have kept that as a thought bubble in your brain and did not release all that air into the world. You could have kept it. You could have just sat on it. You could have just not said it. And you're kind of just like, yo, you really just are that way. That is so frustrating. When I'm dealing with certain people, yeah, there needs to be a strategy. There needs to be a strategy, or I'm going to lose my motherfucking mind. Period. And I really wish I had that mindset of if it doesn't threaten my growth, it doesn't get my time. I really wish I was like that. And I believe in certain instances I am like that because I am exercising, picking and choosing my battles. But yeah, things do get under my skin very easily. And I am someone that my way of sitting with my anger, accessing it, understanding it, going through the anger before I act on my anger, I crash out. I have a visual, open crash out, like out loud, whether I'm alone or I do it with someone on the phone. I don't know if anyone else is like this, but I am Keenan Michael Key in that Key and Peele skit that they do with the text messaging. I'm Keenan Michael Key. I wish I was a Jordan Peele, but I am not. Every little thing I pick up on. And I just when I get an email from work that just starts off with Kaya, no hello. Hey, how you doing? You could just put hi. You didn't even have to put my name. You could just put hi. When I get an email that just says Kaya, I'm like, bitch. I was working on a big project and I had someone email me. I had sent something out and someone responded and was like, this looks really questionable. And I was like, I'm sorry? First of all, I don't even know who you are. Your title, you personally, you don't mean anything to me. I didn't even know you were in this chain. You were added to it. Since when are you giving approval? That's not what your title says. And not for nothing, unless you're my art director, I'm not listening to you. Listen, when you're in the world of design and art, you're going to have people that are not going to like what you do. Period. And honestly, I've definitely been trying to execute the way my brain works while I'm working to my everyday life, because if people do not like what I design, I don't care. I genuinely don't care, because art is subjective. I'm learning that everything is, and people are not going to like it. But I think when we're in design school, we are taught that, which is why you have like critiques. We are taught that not everything that you do is going to be loved. Not everything that you do is going to be met without design direction. So I don't ever care if someone doesn't like my work. What I care about is the way that you're going to deliver the feedback. Instead of saying, this looks questionable, you can just say, can we clean up these areas? That's something you can do. So when I receive shit like that in my inbox, I crash out. I call my boss and I'm like, what is her fucking problem? And the thing is, my read of people is never wrong. Like, he always agrees with me. He's always like, yeah, no, like, she's wild or he's an asshole. Like, 100%. But my boss is like Jordan Peele. That's my boss. Nothing pisses him off. Nothing. Like, I think you have to go up to him and punch him in the face in order for you to piss him off. Other than that, or like mess with his mom, but other than that, nothing bothers him. Nothing. I aspire to be like that because, oh my God, I will get things that will send me absolutely reeling and I crash out. So my crash out is my going through my anger. And once I go through it, I feel so much better. That's just how I deal with it. That's just how, because I'm not going to just sit there and react on my anger, because then in situations with work, I just could get fired. That is an option. And then if you're going through things or relationships with people, you could just get into a fight. Right? Like, those are pretty common outcomes of things if you do react on your anger without thinking about it, without sitting with it, without dissecting it and acknowledging, why is this irritating me? But with work, like after going through my crash out, I'm like, oh, you're just a rude asshole. Got it. And my boss was like, yeah, they're just, that's just who they are. And I went, great. That's wonderful. That's amazing. Amazing. With certain situations like that, I definitely do need to crash out, but I'm not going to act on that anger. There are a few things that I will fight until I see blood for. And even though something gets under my skin, it's very temporary. Nothing ever really stays with me. Nothing makes me lose any sleep. There is no situation, there is absolutely no conflict in this world that would make me lose sleep or that would alter my life. I have a very select few things, and I'm using my fist as an example, right? This is my fist is my heart, and within my heart there are very few things that I hold very dear and very intimate. Everything around it, everything that surrounds the most important pieces of my life, I'm not going to give you the time of day in the sense that it's going to affect me long term. Because the things that I'm talking about, they're very temporary. These are not long lasting, life trajectory changing events that are going to just send me. No. The thing is what does send me is when you deal with a certain situation over and over and over and over again, and you can't control it, or you can't seem to find a solution or a way out of those things. And within my little bubble of things that are untouchable, don't even go near it. Don't even go near it. Even if it's the tiniest remark, let's say it's about my kids, I wouldn't do it. I really, really wouldn't do it. So, like, there's a really big difference in my crash out over a comment about my children versus someone parking in my driveway. And when we say pick and choose our battles, let's go through for us, right? We can sit with it, we can write about it. What are very tiny issues and what are really big issues that would warrant you losing your mother, your mind? When you have that list, that's a really good spectrum for you to go, cool, I'm going to lose it. Or, you know what? Not worth my time. And don't get me wrong, like, even an email that will send me reeling, it's like 5 minutes and then I'm over it. I think sometimes you need a good crash out to just keep your blood flowing, to keep things interesting. I used to be an igniter. I used to be someone that met people with my own fire and they fought me with theirs. It ruined my life. And I'm going to say that that's when I was like a teenager. Um, I was very toxic and I hurt a lot of people when I was younger, and I did it on purpose because I was hurt. And for someone like me, I have been hurt. I have been the hurt person that hurts people. I've been the person that understands that I can hurt you, but I have absolutely no reason to. When you ebb and flow through these phases of life, you understand who you can be. And so this is where like the alter ego kind of comes in, because I do have one. Um, and I always say like I'm a better woman, I'm a bigger woman. I go high when you go low. I act with grace or whatever, with, occasional crash outs here and there because people just love to piss me off. And I do get pissed off very easily, and I hate that about myself. I always say I am a better person, but do not poke the bear, because then it sends me into my old self that truly, truly does not give my old self the person who was hurt, that hurt people, that is a person that did not care. If you want to talk about not caring about people's feelings and being unbothered, and problem is I was hurting people. Any little thing that you did to me, I came at you 10 times harder. Anything that I felt disrespected, I blacked on you. And that's why a lot of my relationships ended when I was younger, because that's how I met every single situation. That's how I met it. And I would just do it just to do it, because I was going through a lot of my own turmoil. As an adult, that person is still in there. That person is still in there. And no, I'm not a hurt person anymore. I've reclaimed my power in my life. So no, I love my life. I am not a woman with a broken home. I am not a woman who is self-conscious. I am not a woman who hates herself anymore. I don't ever want to be that person again that just went around hurting people, making people cry, making people feel small, belittling them. The reason that I was that person was because I wanted everyone to feel just like I did. As a 30-year-old woman that no longer has that life, that does not mean that that girl is gone. That just means that, yeah, there are parts of me that can do those things to you still. And it brings me back into a mindset in which I really don't care about you. I fought really, really, really hard not to be that person. But if you come for anything that is absolutely untouchable in my life, in my little bubble, in my heart, of things that are off limits, she will come out. She will come out with a vengeance, and she will not give a flying fuck. She will be dead to you. And that's how my cutoff game used to be when I was young. When somebody did something to me that I felt was disrespectful, foul, whatever, this is even up until the time I was like in my 20s. My cutoff game, what I would do is I would make you feel this big. I would make you feel so small, and then I would be dead to you. You wouldn't be dead to me. I would be dead to you. You would never see me. Ever. And it's so funny because I read this post the other day that was like, Sagittariuses don't play mind games. Like, we will just cut you off or block you because we don't want you to see anything that we're doing. We don't want to be accessible to you anymore. 100%. That is, now listen, I'm all for blocking. Hold on. I'm quick with a block because I don't want to be accessible to you anymore. And what I used to do was I used to basically make you feel like shit, and then I would cut you off. And I mean sever ties, cut off. Like I said, I was dead to you. Dead. And to me, you didn't even exist. That's why I say like you weren't dead to me, because in the way that I would go about things, you no longer existed. I don't mean that you were here and you were gone. I mean that every single memory, every single conversation, everything that I've ever had with you, poof. It was like you never entered my life to begin with. That's how I would operate. And I do believe that that is a good defense mechanism in certain situations, but not for stupid shit. Not for very minute, tiny little things that really don't deserve that much. That's doing too much. That's what we call doing too damn much. Even up until my adulthood, I would just cut you off. But I've learned that there is a huge difference between cutting someone off and releasing them from your life. The end result is still the same. This person is no longer in your life. But it's not what you do, it's how you do it. Cutting someone off is very confrontational. It's very fighting fire with fire. It's the blocking, or it's the subbing on social media. It's the no contact. It's just a wall. Boom. You sever those ties. There's no communication. There's absolutely no closure. It's just like a big fuck you. and everything that we've ever had. Granted, if the situation calls for it, if there ever is a time when I feel like you have absolutely disrespected me to the point where there is no communication that needs to be had, period, I will do that. I will do that. I will be dead to you. With certain relationships, I feel if there is even a sliver of hope for a future between us, I will pour into it, even if you're not ready to do that yet. If there's an issue, if there's a problem, if it's a misunderstanding that can be discussed, there's absolutely no reason to cut off. I cut off people for disrespecting me and my children. I cut off people for disrespecting my home. I cut off people for claiming to love and appreciate and value our relationship and then ghost me. I cut off people for lighting everyone else's world on fire, being an instigator, and them going like, nah, I had nothing to do with that. But for misunderstandings and small things, absolutely not. Because I feel like one is very brutal. The cutoff is meant to hurt. The cutoff comes with a message. The cutoff is very harsh, very brutal, very curt, very intentionally hurtful. I want that shit to hurt when you see that I'm dead to you. 100%. But I made myself dead to you. I don't want you to have anything to do with me. That lack of closure, that lack of accountability, or there's a realization that happens on the other side that they go, I can't do that to them anymore. I feel like one is met with anger, the other is met with clarity, but the end result is still the same, that that person has absolutely no space in your life anymore, and there is a way to let them go with still keeping your spirit and your peace intact, 100%. And that's the way that I like to go about situations. I will only enter a conversation of releasing that person if all other resolutions have been exhausted and we can't meet one. And we can't meet any sort of common ground. No. Then I will say, okay, enough is enough. Like, that's it. And I tell you what, though, as a Sag, we love cutting people off. Like, we eat that shit up. And it feels so good. Call it what you will. Cutting people off feels fucking incredible. Only if the situation calls for it, number one. Number two, not healthy. Not healthy at all. Because it's just another method of avoidance. With me now, I always try to have a conversation. It's dependent on that conversation if I'm going to, again, everything is situational. If you do something that harms, like I said, and this is so key. This is so key in identifying what I'm going to do in what situation. If you come for anything in my bubble of untouchables, I will cut you the fuck off like this. I'm not the kind of woman that is going to avoid anymore. I used to be. Cutting people off for misunderstandings or for small hiccups in your relationship, it's just avoidance. And the problem is that if you do that too often, it then becomes a habit, and then you just become an avoider. And then, like before, that spills into other relationships with people that do not deserve that behavior from you. And it solves absolutely nothing. Because rather than speak on the situation, you're just brushing it off in the most unhealthy way. And if you don't speak on these issues, if you don't speak on the problem, how are you going to identify and recognize those problems in the future? Just because the person is cut off doesn't mean that the problem can't ever arise again. Narcissists are everywhere. Assholes are everywhere. You cannot avoid these people. You cannot avoid gaslighters. You cannot avoid cheaters. You cannot avoid shitty family members. You can't avoid them. There are people in this world that have their own trauma, that have their own story, in which it resulted them in being the forever hurt person that hurts people. And so it's a matter of picking and choosing the battle and saying, hey, am I going to cut you off forever? Avoid these conversations, avoid this relationship altogether? Or am I going to try to sit down and talk to you and go through it and set up a boundary? Am I going to understand, okay, you got your own shit that you have going on in your life. I love you, but this is how things are going to go now. If we're going to continue this relationship, one takes more work. And there's an instant satisfaction, an instant serotonin boost when you cut someone off, but setting boundaries or releasing someone from your life with a conversation in which they now know, because it's also beneficial for that person as well, because sometimes people don't know what they're doing is wrong. People are very unaware of themselves. People don't know what they're doing is hurting you. People don't know that the way they act socially is unacceptable. People don't know that. I have come to the conclusion in my life that I don't assume shit about anybody. Nothing. I don't assume shit no more. Because I think that people are going to act one way in a situation and they do the opposite. And I'm like, girl, what? The one thing about common sense is that it's not common. So you truly believe, because it's not a way that you would behave, you truly believe, you go, nah, they're not going to do that. And then you're surprised when they do exactly that. Girl, not everyone's like you. So you're going to cut them off? No. You're like, girl, that wasn't cool. Let's not do that again. And if they come back with, I'm really sorry, I didn't even know. Okay, period. Cool. Let's keep it moving. Set the boundary. But if they meet you with, bitch, fuck you, I don't have to change for nobody, and da-da-da. Okay, cool. Then you're no longer in my life. Blessings. And you hop the fuck out that bitch. Ta-da! Like, come on now. In navigating all these things, it takes a lot of inner work to do it. And it takes a lot of inner effort. Like, this shit doesn't just come easy. Cutting someone off is easy. It's 1, 2, 3, boom. Now, like I said before, depends on the situation, because I am not someone that is practicing the avoidance behavior of cutting someone off. I don't like doing it, but that doesn't mean that certain situations don't call for it. And the whole point of what I'm trying to say is, as people, as healing people, because ain't nobody healed all the way, okay? As healing people, it is our responsibility for ourselves, for our inner peace, to start identifying what situations call for what reactions. That's the point. I don't like cutting people off. It's not healthy. But best believe that if I do it now at 30 years old, it's because you handed me the scissors. And I won't apologize for that. Ever. That doesn't mean that you have to hold on to certain people. Absolutely not. Release them if need be. Get rid of them. Remove them from your life, but do it in a way that does not disrupt the inner work that you have going on. Because if you fall back into old habits of doing things, it's almost like a relapse when you start to act like your old self again. Because it took a lot of work to not be that person anymore. And when you relapse like that, you're starting the cycle all over again of removing that behavior and saying, okay, that's not who I am anymore, right? I want to be this way. And especially entering my late 20s into my 30s, I have had to set boundaries with so many people. And the truth is, a lot of people are just unaware. And I don't want to lose these people. If it's about a misunderstanding can be worked through. If it's a pattern of consistent behavior in which they are hurting you on purpose and they refuse to change after you've voiced your feelings, remove and release. But I don't want to lose these people. So, like I said, if I find a semblance of redemption, I'm going to take it. And I think that the biggest inspiration for me doing this is for my kids, because I need to teach them how to have healthy relationships in life. And I need to teach my children, especially my daughter, how to navigate people and how to protect yourself. This is for my son and my daughter, but especially my daughter. I need to teach my children that your peace is not a tangible thing that people can mess with. Your peace is not up for grabs to be manipulated, and it's not malleable. You must protect it at all costs. Protecting your peace comes with navigating relationships. And so I try to do this to set an example for my children, but also too to make my life a little bit easier and to really deserve to sit in the power that I found for myself. And I try to stand in my stillness. Being still is a strategy. Being still has changed the way that I navigate things. And just because I'm still doesn't mean I'm not having a crash out. Being still can look different for everyone. For me, the definition of stillness is to go through it with yourself before you act on it. And you then now have to deal with the repercussions of whatever you reacted on. So sit with your stillness, no matter how that looks for you, and understand the importance of picking and choosing your battles. And that is all for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you cannot get enough of me the way that I cannot get enough of you, do me a favor and go to all the socials, go to all the channels, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, do all the things, the notifications, the buttons, the likes, the subscribes. I appreciate you all so much. I am Kaya Burgos. This is the Latinaly podcast, where we are untamed, uncensored, and always unapologetic. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next week.